Hello, sacred souls. It's Susanna from Alamanic Shaman. What I have here for us tonight is the first viewer request for celebrating the milestone of 300 followers. Is removing self-doubt, fear, and low self-esteem due to childhood conditioning and breaking out of old responses and limiting beliefs. I kind of reworded it a little bit, but it's basically that the wording was just a little bit longer and I wanted to try to shorten it a little bit. And since it wasn't mentioned, I think it's okay that I mention the names. The online name said Zafar Sohar and a number. I'm going to drop the number. So yeah, thank you so much for this first request. It's actually funny because I had already bought some of the items beforehand because I also wanted to work a little bit more on removing fear from the heart space. And that's how I was guided to do it. So this actually fits perfectly since self-doubt, fear, and low self-esteem all have to do with a lack of unconditional love, right? So in our childhood, we often received conditional love, and due to that, we were conditioned to certain responses and behaviors and ways of thinking, the patterning that formed us in many ways. Right? So a lot of that is from our childhood home, but it doesn't have to be limited to that, of course. I mean, there was school and there were like other places, activities, hobbies. Maybe if we played some sort of sport or we were in some other group or learned an instrument, maybe that teacher or instructor was really influential and so on, right? But a lot of the childhood conditioning does come from our immediate family and especially our immediate caregivers. And breaking out of those old responses and limiting beliefs can really take a really long time. And as this viewer mentioned, it can be very difficult to break out of them. And that's actually one of the things that I've currently been working on as well. And I think almost everyone in our collective, right? That the way I feel it, I think many of you do too, that you feel deep down inside who you are is different from some of the responses and behaviors you end up catching yourself displaying, right? So, for example, we may very truly in our core believe that everyone is equal, yet there may be situations where we suddenly have a behavior that might be judgmental or dismissive or maybe even worse, right? It could even be something that could be seen as discriminatory, right? It really depends on the conditioning and so on. But for example, I used to teach adult ESL for quite a few years, actually, about 15 roughly, before I got really burnt out. Well, I spent years being burnt out, but it got to the point where I knew I had to leave, right? But I saw it, I witnessed it so often that, for example, when it came to sexual orientation and I don't think we even usually talked about transgendered people. Like it didn't even get that far. Just when, and usually like I made it a point of bringing that up at least once a year when there was Gay Pride Parade happening in the city. I would usually have an article on that, even simplified for whatever level I was teaching. And they were adults I was teaching, right? So adults that were conditioned back home in their countries, and a lot of them really struggled with that, as much as they felt open to, so many other things. But that in many cultures is such a taboo topic that overcoming that kind of conditioning can be extremely challenging, right? And I remember I had one young woman who said, I do believe everyone is equal, and I understand what you're saying. And we also talked about the Canadian Charter of Freedoms and Rights, where, you can express any opinion as long as you're not discriminating against anyone else, basically, just to summarize it shortly, right? So she was incredibly open-minded and everything. And she said, yeah, but when I really think about what is going on in the bedroom, and I challenged her, and I said, well, do you want to picture, let's say, your neighbor or your father or anyone else having, an intimate relation with someone? Personally, I would rather not picture that in my head. I mean, that is just, for me, I think some people actually do, and, to each their own, but to truly respect someone, I think picturing someone in a very private setting kind of takes a little bit away from the respect you would have for that person. That's just my personal opinion, okay? Please don't come at me. And everyone can have a different opinion on that. And I absolutely loved her for being so open that she also felt comfortable enough to voice her opinion on that, right? And like we had a very great understanding, and she thought, yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, who cares? Right? So, but a lot of times there are barriers and hurdles that we have, even subconsciously, and we end up snapping back into some patterns that may even surprise us sometimes, right? So anyway, to make a long intro, hopefully a little bit shorter today. Sometimes I get a little carried away when I start talking. So this is a wonderful, wonderful topic. Thank you very much for requesting this. And especially fear is a very complex topic. So there can be many aspects aside from, let's say, the direct immediate conditioning from our parents. See, there goes, my voice goes funny again. So again, having our voice taken away, not being heard, excuse me. But also just what we inherited emotionally and energetically from our lineages, from our cultures, from past lifetimes, right? So there's a lot that goes into it, and in all different aspects of life. Fear can manifest as claustrophobia, fear of heights. I forgot what phobia that is officially. Then, let's say, a fear of abandonment. It can be a fear of failure, but also there's fear of success, right? And all sorts of different fears that can, depending on the degree, be very crippling, right? So it can be a fear of authority, all sorts of things, right? So I'm gonna try to be as, I'm going to try to cover as much as I can with this ceremony. If I do forget aspects or parts that you feel maybe should be a part of it, or I may also be guided to add something. I had a viewer request a while ago. I think it was after celebrating 100 followers. I ended up doing 3 ceremonies because I felt like it wasn't done yet, and I was guided to do more, right? So that can sometimes happen as well. So let's get started soon. I just wanted to quickly talk a little bit about this. So the idea for this is, so I already glued them on here, so I can't actually lift them off. Let me just see. I didn't really think about the candle part. Let me just put that back on this one here, just so I can show it. I can bring it closer. But basically, the idea is that the heart, oops, sorry, the camera's up here, that the heart is not free because of conditional love, right? Of not having had unconditional love, but it was always with a condition. It was always attached to something. We received love when we behaved a certain way or when we were sick, but not in all situations and not unconditionally, just for who we are, right? So we were in chains, emotionally speaking, and that also manifested energetically then, right? That we were not really free. And that continues throughout our lifetime if we don't heal it, right? So I put this one here for us, and that would have been our parent or other caregiver. And of course, they had the same thing, right? They only received conditional love. They were not free. They had certain responses based on their conditioning, based on their unfulfilled need for love when they were children, and so on, right? So the idea for today's ceremony is to cut these chains that bound us, first of all, to the parent or caregiver that had projected all of those fears and insecurities and things onto us. It could also be several caregivers and people who were in a, how should I put this, in an inferior, in a superior position where we felt inferior or where we were inferior based on age, development, or position. Let's say if it was a teacher and we were the student, or it was a coach and we were, learning from them and so on. Anything like that. So with that, we're cutting any and all toxic and karmic cords, bonds, chains, etc., right? So I'm going to do that. Initially, the idea was an axe, but I don't think with this setup it's going to be strong enough for that. So I'm going to use the pliers. Hopefully that works. If not, I'll have to think of something else. But that's why I purposely chose a very thin chain. And as I was setting all of this up, oh yeah, and it was time to retire my cutting board. So please forgive the, the residue and stuff. I actually, probably should have washed it one more time, but then it would have taken even longer to glue it and stuff, right? Anyhow, it's all good. Part of the conditioning is to overcome perfectionism. So then, as I thought I was ready, I looked over and my eye it caught the cord that I usually use to represent a noose, right? Like for persecutions and stuff like that. And I felt I needed to include this because a lot of fears actually go back to our ancestors who were persecuted, or our own witch wound, or that we felt suffocated. So for example, my mother was very overbearing. She was a complete helicopter parent, very controlling. So I often felt suffocated, right? So it wasn't like literal strangulation or anything like that. Sorry, trigger warning. I should have said that first. But it was, emotionally speaking, just suffocating. It was too much. And that was because she acted out of her own fears, right? Her entire life, she was completely controlled by her fears. And everyone in the family knew that she was just completely, out of control with her fears in a sense. I can actually give you a quick example. When September 11 happened, that was in New York, and I've lived in Toronto like for many years, and with some interruptions, but at that time I did. And that is about a 10-hour drive, and I think that would have been like a 1 or 2 hour flight. But anyhow, like it's also in a different country, right? She was so insanely gripped by her fears that she called my brother, who at the time was some business big shot in a company. He was in a meeting. She called him out of a meeting just to scream into the phone asking, do you think Susanna's gonna be okay? Or do you think she's okay? And he's like, Mom, do you know how far Toronto is from New York? Seriously, you just called me out of a meeting for this? Right? So that just kind of gives you an idea. But when someone is so caught in fear, no rhyme or reason can just snap them out of it that easily. They, like, even after that conversation, she was still feeling it, but she could reason herself enough out of it that she was okay getting off the phone, basically, right? But it's like when fear completely takes over and people don't do their own inner healing work, then it can become, thank you. What just popped into my head was Wayne Dyer, who said something about how self-love is not selfish, because the people who are the biggest burdens are those that, how did he word it? Sorry, I'm trying to remember. Basically, like those that cling on to others and that need others. He had another word for it, I think. But basically, like that, impose all of their stuff onto others. I'm paraphrasing here, right? But she basically imposed her fears onto everyone around her. And that is actually a burden rather than someone who is focusing on themselves for their own self-healing, right? So that kind of self-love, that is really self-care and self-respect and all that, that is divine love, is actually what we're trying to do here. Okay, I'm getting carried away, so I'm going to stop with the long intro talk. So for all... yes, and just feeling caught. Thank you. So this noose shall also represent being caught. Thank you. Being caught in those fears. Thank you, spirits. Okay, got it. Sorry, that was a difficult birth here. Okay, got it. Okay, so here we have cutting the, or breaking the chains, well, cutting them because I can't quite break them like this. And what did I just say? Sorry, it'll come back. I just said it anyhow. I can watch the video again later, and once I call the spirit guides, and it'll all flow. Plus, everything I already said is flowing into the ceremony once, even like after I call in the spirit guides. This is already all this energy is going in, right? So, okay. So let's smudge and get started. Oh, and I did feel called to actually include the bell that I usually have in my fire making bag for the fire ceremonies. Somehow that wanted to be there. And I feel that it has to do with like church bells, but the pure divine light aspect of religion as in spirituality, not the hijacked false light meaning, right? So just to bring sort of that purity in. All right. Please cleanse, clear, and renew all of our energies and take away all dark, heavy, and low vibrational energies, anything unhealed. Oh, that feels good already. Wow. And reconnect us to that pure divinity within us and all around us, and help us be in oneness again. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations. Okay. Dear Creator, higher power, source and soul energy, our higher selves, our higher spirit guides of the light, our ancestors that are in the light, dear Mother Earth, powers of all four directions, powers of the east, powers of the south, powers of the west, powers of the north, powers of all four elements, air, earth, fire, and water, and all other benevolent powers, forces, spirits, and beings of the universe that are of the light, please join the ceremony and assist the healings, prayers, and protection with all of your powers. Thank you. Please close the circle of protection around us. Thank you. I want to start again by giving our thanks and gratitude to our entire spirit team, to all the light beings, to the divine, for so strongly guiding and protecting us every single day. Thank you for being there for us at all times whenever we call on you. And forgive us when we forget to do so. And forgive us when we're sometimes caught up in 3D stuff and we postpone and procrastinate some things that should be dealt with more quickly. And for the gentle nudges and reminders that you give us when that happens. Let us start out by helping us rebalance the male and female, the masculine and feminine energies within all of us, no matter what our gender is in our 3D body. Help us reach and be in that pure, balanced state of inner peace, bliss, and harmony. And operate from that in all aspects of our lives at all times. Thank you. Okay, please help us be in a place of true understanding and compassion for ourselves and all those that have done the best they could when they were raising us to the best of their ability based on their own conditioning and damage and abuse they received, based on the conditional love that they received, that they passed down to us. Help us truly understand how it was for them so that we can then be filled with compassion and get to a place of forgiveness towards them as well as ourselves. Help us have the detached, sort of so-called bird's eye view, the divine view, the view of our own higher selves, of how to see us from that removed perspective. Help us heal everything that is still wounded within us, that causes self-doubt. Here, I'm actually going to hold it up for a moment. That causes self-doubt, fear, and low self-esteem because of childhood conditioning, because of how we were raised with conditional love. I'm feeling a very strong, pure love feeling. A very strong love. The divine has got us. They all love us so unconditionally. All we need to do is remove our own inner blocks to it and open ourselves up. Which is easier said than done sometimes. Help us break out of our old responses and limiting beliefs by healing all of this. Oops, sorry, gotta hold it up here. And actually I'm gonna remove the name just to have the topic here for a moment. And here's a little side note from myself. Through deep understanding, compassion, and forgiveness, we step into the pure divine love light energy, and with that, all self-doubt, fear, and low self-esteem are removed. Because we know we're already divine, we are already everything. We just forgot it because we got so caught up in this physical 3D quote-unquote reality. Like, here, see the air quotes. That we forgot who we really are at our core, our soul. Our soul is so much more that can't even be contained in this vessel. So by cutting these chains, let us break the vicious cycle of abuse that has caused all these fears, insecurities, the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs, the low self-esteem and anything else that goes along with that. That is all a fear of a lack of love. So the moment we have love, the moment pure love enters, all of that leaves. So let any and all cords, bonds, shackles, chains, leashes, portals, I forgot about that, sorry. Portals, I'm going to have to close that too. Portals, gateways, vows, soul contracts, and, sorry, let me just get some paper here. Let all of that be cut, severed, removed, and finished. And all toxic cords between us and our ancestors that have caused this abuse. Let all healthy connections remain, but let all the wow, I wanted to say cock. So there's, yeah, part of it is that whole sexually manipulative and otherwise like using sexuality for control. All of that is part of the abuse, is part of the false light, is part of the darkness, is part of the Jezebel, the devil energies, whatever you want to call it, right? Let all of that now and forever be cut, severed, finished. Ooh, the second one didn't want to go right away. So yeah, there's still a bit of stuff with that. Let it be removed from us and from our caregivers and ancestors. Ooh, this does not want to go easily on this side. Look at that. That side is just, they are so full of that dark toxicity that it really doesn't want to go. Look at this. Okay, let's try this again. Ha, got it. Let all of us heal, us as well as our caregivers and ancestors. Let our entire lineages be healed, cleansed, cleared, and our energies renewed. Let our hearts be freed. Wait, where's the camera? Sorry. Let our hearts be freed and let them shine brightly. When it was wrapped around, it was on the back side, and now the little fake diamonds are showing again, right? So the brilliant, shiny, sparkly, vibrant parts of our heart chakra are now free again. They are open to receive the divine energies, to have them run through us, and our hearts shall be purified. Again, we shall return to a pure state of being again, just like when we were really small children before all this conditioning corrupted us. And our parents' hearts are still caught. Let's actually just cut that off. Oh, still doesn't want to quite go. See, like there's a lot of resistance with our caregivers. They are very caught in that, but they shall now be free as well. So that's us and our caregivers, our parents, or anyone else who was looking after us, raising us when we were children. And let any and all karmic contracts and vows, soul contracts, be finished, done, and declared null and void, and removed fully and completely from our lives in all aspects. And let any and all portals and gateways that have allowed those energies to stay in our lives and stay connected to us, let them be fully removed and neutralized. They shall be opened so that nothing can come through, because there is no longer a portal. The portal is gone and finished. And I feel again that I need to spread that in all 4 directions, across the galaxies, the universe, multiverse, whatever, far distant places. It shall be scattered all across in all little bits and pieces, all parts, and reintegrated into source for healing and transmutation. And any and all aspects of us that were caught in the fear, thank you, that's what I couldn't remember earlier, that were caught in the fear and that were stuck because of past trauma, and that could have been from persecutions either in past lifetimes or our ancestors or whatever the situation may have been exactly, and or the witch wound or anything else, any other forms of discrimination where there was a fear for personal safety. All of that shall now and forever be cut, severed, finished, and removed. There shall be nothing more to fear. We are safe, shielded, and protected at all times by our entire spirit team that is working overtime to always keep us completely safe, shielded, and protected. And let me put the candle where I intended it, right between us and our ancestors. The light shall flood into our lineages and heal everyone, past, present, and future, so that this lack of love does not continue, so that we are flooded with pure divine light, with pure divine love, with healing energies from the divine, that through that all the hurt, pain, suffering, and trauma, all the conditioning, all the false beliefs and associated responses melt away and transmute into pure love and light. And any remaining darkness shall be removed and sent into the Great Spirit of the fire to be burnt away and transmuted into love light energy, and then be returned to source for reintegration. And so it is. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations. And all of that shall be applied throughout all of time and space, throughout all lifetimes, timelines, parallel and alternate realms, realities, multi and universes, and any and all other aspects that affect us in this lifetime and moving forward. And of course shall also be applied physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, energetically, karmically, and in any and all other aspects that we may not be aware of. And so it is. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations. Oh. healing shall take place. Healing us as small children, as infants, as toddlers, from the first moment we were born, and actually even before then. If there was any trauma that goes back to being a fetus inside our mother's womb, then that shall be healed as well. What just popped into my head is wartime. So, for example, if your mother was pregnant with you during the war, then there could have been trauma that happened while you were still in the womb. Let's say if bombs dropped or there were shootings around you, near you, and even just the fear of all that. So if the mother felt fear, then as a fetus, you absorbed all of that, right? So I'm saying you because my parents were born, well, my mother was born in the last month of World War II, and my dad was a child during World War II, but I was born in peaceful times, and I've never experienced war myself, so that part doesn't exactly apply to me, but to my mother, for example, it does. And I just understood one more aspect of my mother's fears. Thank you, spirits. Okay. So yeah, and if we've absorbed that, then there's also stuff we need to heal for our ancestors that, you know, have that kind of trauma. So this fetus, this baby, oops, I dropped the bottle, 1 second. Okay, the elastics fell off because weirdly enough, only the teddy bear came with an elastic attached, so I just had it like this, but it's okay. I'll just put the bottle down because I feel that the baby needs to be wrapped for extra comfort. The arms can be out, but the blanket shall represent the extra comfort and protection that we are now giving our own infant version of ourselves, as well as what the divine is giving us. And with that, I'll use the white feather again for that pure divine love and protection. We're fully and completely safe, shielded, divinely loved and protected. And so it is. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations. And even when we were older, this shall be the unisex doll again for everyone. The divine always looked out for us and blessed us. Yes, we had some lessons to learn. That's what our soul wanted to learn in this lifetime. But we were safe in all the important aspects. Even if there was abuse, it was so that our soul could evolve. And please help us reach that understanding on a subatomic level, on an energetic level, on an emotional level within ourselves, because we can understand those things with our minds without necessarily feeling the same, right? So please help us reach a deeper energetic and emotional understanding of how important those soul lessons were for our development, that any and all abuse, neglect, and trauma, hurt, pain, and suffering, and anything else that we experienced in our childhood and growing up that was not of the light. All of that served to form us into the person that we are today. Even if we're still in the process of healing, and some of you may still just be coming out of the dark night of the soul, some might be further along, but if we can recognize how important our suffering was for our development, then we can let go of it instead of holding on. And with that, I actually include myself partially as well, not fully. I would say I'm out of the dark night of the soul, but there are still things that I'm having a little bit of a hard time fully letting go of. So, yeah, even if we fully understand it mentally, help us, fill us with that pure divine understanding. Help connect us to that higher knowledge and wisdom that many of us are still kind of disconnected from. Help us reconnect. I feel some reaching of arms right now. It's like we're reaching up and they're reaching down. And I picture them kind of like in heaven, right? But however you want to picture it, but that was the image that I just got. Thank you. Actually, if you can fully spread your arms and actually open your chest. The other image that just came into my head is there's a video of Louise Hay where she instructed her audience to open the arms widely, to be open to all the good that the universe or life has to offer us. And that the same goes for the divine love and having that deep understanding that comes with that divine love. And the divine love is streaming into our heart space right now. I can feel it. Ooh, strong energy is coming in. Oh, this feels good. It's coming down along the spine, down the back. Ooh. Allow these energies to fully flow through you all the way down to your root chakra and even lower all the way. They can go all the way down into your feet and toes and flow into your arms and fingers and fill every part of your body. Our entire bodies shall be filled with this pure divine energy, the healing energy, and it overflows and forms a massive protective bubble, a protective shield all around us. And picture this pure white bubble all around you. It surrounds us and we're inside of it, so completely safe and protected. And our throat chakra needs a little bit more healing. For all the moments and situations where we were not heard, where our voices and opinions were, and our thoughts that we expressed were dismissed, where what we said didn't count, Let a special healing come to our throat chakra. Oh, that's better. And I'm using the egg rattle today because that's new life, right? And basically all life springs from an egg. Even when it comes to the first moment of conception, it started in an egg, right? Heart, each versions of ourselves from the past shall receive one of those hearts. Wait, let me put that a little higher. I think it'll stay. Yep. See, here it's a little trickier. Let's see if it stays there. Okay, let me move the feather. It's bent this way. It wants to stay that way. Okay, I'll just move it a little bit over here. There, that's good. Okay, and with those hearts put in place, the divine healing shall continue working inside of us over the next 24 hours. More and more divine healing energies shall enter and stream in and just burst our heart chakra open. So that anything that was knotted shall be released. Any blockages shall be opened and released. That's it. All done. Finished. Oh, that's it. For today, at least. Okay, anyone who would like to stay in these energies a bit longer, please pause the video. For the rest of us, let us once again express our deepest love, thanks, gratitude, and blessings to our entire spirit team, to the divine. That includes our ancestors and everyone we called in earlier, all light beings. Thank you so much for all your help and assistance in our healing process. We love you so much, and we know that you love us so unconditionally and unlimited, so endless. Let the ceremony now be finished. Please open the circle of protection around us, but keep us strongly safe, shielded, and protected. And so it is. Thank you, Dankeschön, all my relations. Oh. Wow, these energies feel good. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, for being a part of the ceremony, and you're being on your own healing and ascension journey, as well as being a part of our ascending collective. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. And I'm also sending you tons of love, light, and blessings. Be well until next time, and I wish you great abundance. Bye.